Hello and welcome to Totally Schway, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever else I want it to be about. My name is Mary.
And my name is Luke.
Yeah, those are our names.
Yes, they are. Last time I checked.
I'm gonna ask you how I've asked you how you are, but I'm just gonna say I'm gonna start this. We do not have the best energy today, and I'm gonna tell you why. We went to the London Film and Comic-Con at the Olympia in Kensington yesterday. Well, Kensington, Hammersmith. I'm still a bit confused on exactly.
I think it's Kensington still.
Yeah. And I have to be honest with you, it's not the usual convention I go to, because I when I have gone to conventions, it's usually the MCM, London Comic-Con, which is at the beautiful convention center, XL, I think. Yeah, I can say that because nobody's gonna know where we live from that.
No.
But yeah, and I have to say we got to meet some really cool people.
Yeah.
Like three people in particular, I think, come to mind. The person that I got to listen to one of the people from the Jack Kirby Museum. Is that where they're from? Yeah. Because Luke was talking to them. I didn't get to say anything to the other guy because he was just really busy. But they were so nice. And then I'm gonna because I think we're friends now. We met Fraser.
Oh, Fraser Irving, yes, yeah. Artist Fraser Irving.
He was so awesome. Actually, no, so many more, because the lovely man that was with him. And I'm gonna save for me personally, I'm gonna save the best for last, but you could talk about the Frage and
Frage. You're on nickname terms with him now. Yeah. Well, yeah, we were walking around in the artist's alley bit, and I spotted he'd just laid out some sketches of like Batman and Joker, and I thought I'll buy the Joker one. I like Fraser Irving. He did. He's collaborated a lot with Grant Morrison. So Fraser Irving drew the Clarion the Witch Boy miniseries as part of Seven Soldiers of Victory. Which I thought was really cool. And I just approached him and said, "You drew Clarion the Witch Boy, didn't you?" He said, "Yes, I did." And we had a chat with him for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, really. And it was, the thing is, it wasn't like, it was very flowy conversation. That probably doesn't make sense, but it was a really great conversation that I didn't feel we needed to rush or anything like that. It was just really awesome.
Yeah. And, we weren't under pressure to buy anything, but I did buy a sketch anyway, just because I thought it was cool. I had a great conversation with him, and there was a gentleman sat next to him whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, but he's a UK comics journalist. They puts out a quarterly magazine, and he was showing me their hardcover collection book full of like the last 20 years of like highlighted articles from their publication, which was really cool. I wandered down and saw Glenn Fabry, who people may know as a cover artist. Worked a lot with writer Garth Ennis on things like Preacher and Hellblazer. He's done some of his Authority covers as well. And I saw Simon Bisley again, but he had like 6 or 7 commissions that he had to work on, so I didn't chat with him very much. I was going to try and get a Lobo sketch from him, but I was like, he's got 6 or 7 and I can't really wait around. But just to circle back on the Jack Kirby Museum, I should have written the guy's name down so that I would remember it, but he was an artist that also represents the Kirby Museum, and he'd done some trading cards based on Jack Kirby characters, and he had a print of the Big Barda sketch he had done. So I was having a chat with him about stuff, and he was surprised I knew what Captain Victory was, because apparently nobody knows what Captain Victory is. For the uninitiated, Captain Victory is a creator-owned project that Jack Kirby did in the 1980s. that was an unofficial sequel to the New Gods. So the main character, Captain Victory, is the son of Orion, and his grandfather is Darkseid. They don't overtly say it, but they hint at it, because obviously DC owns the original characters, Orion and Darkseid. But I've been reading that recently, and the highlight for me, though, is they had some of the Kirby Museum's reproductions of Jack Kirby's original art that they'd blown up to a larger size, about, I don't know, 25 by 40 inches. And I bought one of those, which was a page from the Forever People. That was obviously not very expensive because it's an ex-display thing. They're not allowed to produce prints of Kirby's work, but what they can do is sell off their authorized display work. So that was really nice. It was like the first thing I bought there. So that's why we had to lug it around with us the whole time. But we showed some of the artists what we'd got, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's really cool. We love Jack Kirby." Everyone does. And really randomly, really very randomly, there were 2 comic book retailers at the at the convention. One of them, they were like focused on toys as well. Mary, you'll probably talk about this a little later on, but there wasn't really enough room to stop and look particularly in that aisle, because if you stood still, then you blocked off everyone that was trying to walk through. So I didn't enjoy that part very much. But the other retailer we went to, funnily enough, was actually the guy that ran the comic shop I used to go to when I was a kid. Now, he shut his shop.
This is so funny.
Yeah, I know. He shut his shop, I don't know, 20 years ago now.
That's not the funny thing.
No, and went online exclusively. And he was saying to us, obviously he didn't remember me. He remembers my dad, though.
That's the funny thing.
I know. I said, I'm so-and-so's son. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh, there's a name I've not heard in a long time." I was like, yeah. But anyway, he was saying that while his, the money coming in went down, his operating costs became zero. So he made way more profit. And he said, he's managed to grow into a massive business, going to all of the big conventions, selling globally.
To be honest with you, out of the 2 retailers that actually sold comics specifically, I have to say he was my favorite.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's because it's his business. He's been doing it for 40 years.
And it was a recognizable name, even though his business in, can I say the name?
Yeah.
In Canterbury, it was not around by the time I came over here. No. But I've heard about Incognito, so it was really awesome.
Yeah. So it's Incognito Comics for anyone that's interested.
Yeah. And they're so lovely.
Yeah, and they had, this is actually quite rare in the UK, but they actually had a tremendous selection of Golden Age and Silver Age comics on the walls. They had like the first Incredible Hulk and Fantastic Four.
Great quality as well.
Yeah, pretty good quality. I was very tempted to buy the first appearance of Killer Moth from their wall, because I'm actually writing my Killer Moth video right now.
Why is that no?
Yeah, Mary said no because it was nearly £600. I'm like, I can't go that far. If we didn't have all this plumbing work we had to pay for our flat, then I probably would have done it.
See, that's the thing with the treat yourself thing, right?
Yeah.
Is, I know, Gilly, we don't really, we're not those type of people that have to have like luxury cars or anything like that, because we just, we don't need them.
No, you just go to the shops in the car, that's it.
Yeah. We've got a very safe, reliable car. We have 3 beautiful cats. So when we want to spend stuff like money on ourselves, it's usually investment pieces like that. So it's not something that we would do every day. But it was good, but with the plumbing, it was one of those things. I was like, oh,
it's wiped me out, but it's something you had to do.
That's something very, we've been very fortunate, because when we bought our place, obviously we got a good deal on it because, whatever. But we've been very, very fortunate in terms of not having to deal with something that big. So
until now,
I think almost 8 years later, it's okay.
Yeah.
Because a lot worse could have happened, and I'm just very happy it didn't.
Yes, very true.
Now, can we mention something that I didn't realize that was one of the coolest things.
Yeah,
so I was looking. Do you want to start?
Yeah, okay, I can start. So when we went around the artist alley, I noticed that Michael Golden was there, who drew a lot of Batman comics in the 80s and covers in the 90s. So I got a print of one of his Detective Comics covers that he signed, and he shook my hand. He was very nice. Mm-hmm. But there was somebody else there as well. Her name was Renee Witterstater. Mm-hmm. Now that name, excuse me, I'm tripping over my tongue, may not sound familiar to you, but she worked for Marvel in the 90s. And do you want to tell them what she worked on?
Barbie!
Yeah, so she was a colorist, and I think she did some editing as well on the Barbie comics. And, she sold us some prints. She tried to sell Mary a copy of Barbie #1, including its free gift, which was a comb, was it?
No, it was the door sign.
The Do Not Disturb sign. Okay.
Which I already have two of them. I think it was two of those ones. Because I have a graded one. Mm-hmm. And then I have one that also came with like a fake credit card, or was it?
Yeah, it came with a fake card.
But what's really cool about this is I was researching, because I wanted to do a Barbie video. Not because of the movie or anything, but just because I love Barbie in general. But I ended up not doing it because there's so many other people that do videos on that. But I've done a lot of research on this woman, like a lot of research. But I never actually looked at the pictures of people, because a lot of times, I'm not one of those people that need to know what like a writer looks like or anything like that. I'm more focused on their art, or just things that they've done that are like exceptional. And I had never seen a picture of her in all of the times, because I think I've mentioned this once or twice before, but I also scroll past ads so much that sometimes when I'm looking at a website, I'll accidentally scroll past a picture as well. Mm-hmm. So I don't really look at the pictures all that much. So when I realized, the moment I realized was when we bought 3 things from them, like 3
prints,
mini posters, a Batman one and 2 Barbie ones. And one of the Barbie ones was I believe it was the fabulous first issue of Barbie. Like, it was like the fashion series. I was trying to find the name of it.
Yeah, so that's the main Barbie series rather than Barbie Fashion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the main Barbie series.
How did I get that? Oh, yeah, because Barbie Fashion is like a different logo.
Yeah.
Anywho, I'm getting a bit nervous here just talking about it. So this woman's like selling us these things, and all of a sudden she takes out the marker and she signs her name. Mm-hmm. My heart was like, wow. And then they both signed it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know who these people are, but I don't want to be that, like, I don't, it's not that I don't want to be like that, I'm just not, I don't get starstruck. But what's really cool about this is that these people, to me, are like the Angelina Jolie's and the, I don't know, another, like, Vin Diesel's of, of like, the comic world for me. And I was just so, like, and the thing is, I had no idea that I would end up buying something, because we asked about Barbie.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The first one.
Yeah, when we go to the comics conventions and comic shops, we always ask, got any Barbies? They never do, or they very rarely do. And it's very funny that, like, the second stand that we visited in the comic section upstairs, there was one of the people that works on Barbie, and she had a couple there, but they were all ones that Mary already had.
Yeah, and I'm of the belief that I don't need, like, if I have a graded copy, which I think I have 2 graded copies of stuff, or is it 1?
I think it's just the one.
Just the one. I'm not talking about Barbie. Do I have a Harley Quinn or anything?
No.
I don't know. Maybe I was thinking about buying it or something, or I'd shown you. But I don't need to have 3 copies of it, because if I have a graded copy, awesome. But then one for actually looking at and all of that, that's cool. But I think once I get to the 3rd one, it would be very greedy.
Don't ask how many I've got.
No, I'm talking about of the same one.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, well, ask me how many copies of
It
Absolute
doesn't-
Batman 1 I have.
I was about to say, it doesn't count if it's different illustrations of the front.
Ask me how many copies of Absolute Batman 1 I bought.
So we also went. No, just kidding. I really don't care. Not that sounded awful, but
No, it didn't sound as fine.
as in I don't care like how many things you buy. But for me, it's especially with something like the Barbie comics, it's really hard to find exceptional copies of them because they were the in the age of people wanting more. Like they played with their things and stuff like that. So yeah, that was my really awesome time there.
Yeah. And I suppose the main reason we went was because we were going to a signing with Ron Perlman, and I took my mudslide cell to get signed by him. And yeah, literally. I'll get to that in a moment. I also took a piece of sheet music that was the Danny Elfman's theme for Batman the Animated Series that had been signed by Dan Reba, Kevin Altieri, and Diane Pershing. I bought that from... who did I buy that from? I think I bought it from Chuck Perkins, who works with Heroic Fine Art Gallery. He's got his own gallery on the side, and he sold it to me. And I spoke to Dan about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember signing that." So it's official, just in case anyone doubted. Don't doubt Chuck Perkins. He sold me some really nice stuff. In fact, I think he sold me the mudslide cell as well. But we had to get so for the day. Well, not day really. It was the appointment with Ron. You had to buy something called a diamond pass, which gets you a photograph, a free gift, and 1 autograph included in the price. But because I had 2 things, I had to buy a separate autograph ticket as well. So I went and did that first. And I have to say, actually, that my first experience with Ron wasn't actually that great.
Which I will probably hit on a little bit later.
Yes, Mary will talk about this. Why? So when I got up to him, I handed him the sheet music. And he went... "Is that Clayface?" I said, "Yes." "Where do you want me to sign?" Here." He signed it, and then he got up and turned around and started talking to someone else. And I was like, "Oh, okay, no talking. Okay, fine, cool, thanks, bye." And I was a little bit crestfallen at that point. I was like, "Oh dear, that wasn't a very fun experience." But then when I went to the photo opportunity, he was very gracious. He was very kind. Put his arm around me, patted me on the back. Didn't really say much because, I hear from people that Ron Perlman isn't much of a talker.
Not in a bad...
No, not in a bad way.
Yeah, not in a bad way.
Man of few words.
Some people are just like that.
Yeah.
And that's
I agree.
fine.
Yeah. But I could see he was like smiling with people and like, putting his arm around them and making them feel nice. So there we go. That was good. And then when I took the cell for him to sign, he went, "That's Clayface." I went, "Yes. Where do you want me to sign?" Tapped on the location. I said, Ron, your performance as Clayface really frightened me as a child. In fact, you traumatized me. And he smiled. He didn't look at me, but he was smiling, and he went, "Yeah, that's what I was going for." And then he looked up after he signed, and he held out his hand, and he shook my hand, and he said, "Take care." And that was a very nice experience, actually, overall. Now, the actual convention itself, I alluded to this earlier, but it was very tightly packed. The Olympia's not a huge venue anyway, but there were lots of rows of vendors and celebrities getting signatures. Brian Blessed was there, if anyone knows Brian Blessed. And here's a funny story.
Don't tell him
I won't
exactly
say the
what he
word. I won't
said.
say the words.
Don't exactly tell me.
No, but
He was talking about something inappropriate.
yes. So Mary was sat down in a quiet corner, and turns out it was by the entrance to like the celebrity area. And while I was off waiting to get my picture with Ron Perlman, Mary texted me to say some old man walked by with a cane and was talking about, I'll just say, having intercourse with ladies. Said it was really vulgar, and I was like, "Was that Brian Blessed?" And she was like, looked him up. I was like, "Oh my god, that was him!"
Yeah.
Brian Blessed is well known for being like very loud and boisterous and swearing quite a lot and having very little of a personal filter. You know, he's not like a creep or anything. It's just he's very blunt. And even when I was queuing up for the second Ron Perlman signature, Brian Blessed was a couple of tables away, but he was just shouting like the whole time. Not like shouting to be abusive, but he's just loud and boisterous, and people love him for it. And he was really playing it up.
I just don't remember saying that he was an old man. I thought I said there was a man.
I think you said there was an old man with a cane.
I'm trying to find this in my... Yeah, also, I was like 5 inches away from Tommy Flanagan, and I thought it was somebody dressed like Tommy Flanagan until he walked over to his autograph signing thing. I think that's just where, like, people would go to like wash their hands and stuff and use the loo, but I was like, oh, cool.
They had pizza in there as well.
Oh, really? By the loo. And that was really cool because they honestly, the people that were there to do signings and stuff were just so lovely and kind. If they like walked past you or anything, like I'm not a starstruck person. It would be very hard for me to you know, like the Michael Jackson passing out things from like the 90s people do. That would never happen with me. Like, I did get a bit choked up when I met Kevin Conroy because, like, obviously it was one of our heroes, you know? But yeah, I'm just not really that person. But I did really appreciate that I did not hear any, like, you know how some people will go to these events and cons just for the money?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't hear any of that, and I didn't witness anyone being rude to anyone else or anything like that.
No.
In terms of like the actors, the comic book people, everything. It was really that. I will say this though. I am not one to come on YouTube and complain about something unless there is a valid reason. Do I complain in my personal life? That's none of your business. But I have to definitely say I will never go there again. Like 100%. If it could be more than 100%, it would be no thank you. Because I feel that the event was poorly organized. It was too small of a venue, and I will say this, I do not think that they had proper accessibility, because where I was sitting, which was on the floor, I don't care if I have to sit on the floor. Okay, I've got my hand sanitizer, medical grade, I might add, okay? I do not care. I am able to get up off the floor, get on the floor. I can crawl around if I have to. I'm not going to, but I could. I'm very able. But there were people that were disabled there that they did not have chairs readily available.
Yeah.
The people that actually worked the event, I'm not sure if they're volunteers or not, but they were very helpful. But they looked overworked, and they gave up their chairs and literally gave the people gave one or two people that needed them chairs over the like cloakroom table and everything, and that was awesome. But as Luke said, I was sitting next to where they keep, well, I suspect all the talent, because the talent kept coming
the
in
celebrity pen.
Here's the thing, when you looked in there, every single person was sitting down, and there were tons of empty seats in there. But right outside of that, which the cloakroom was near there, you had people that needed a place to sit, and it just was not there. And that really disappointed me, because I am a fan of MCM Comic Con. I've been there twice, maybe three. Is it twice
I
or
think
three
three times. And
Oh,
you volunteered once as well,
Oh
didn't you?
yeah, and I loved it. The great accessibility for people that need it. So much room. They don't just make sure the celebrities are comfortable. Like, everybody is comfortable because they understand that people have. It's not necessarily the money that people have spent, it's the time they've had to take off work, the time that they could be spending doing something else. They totally get that, and they make everything really, again, in my opinion, they make everything really awesome. And they do as much as they can for the fan. And that's what I love about that. This particular convention was just so poorly done. The people that worked there, you could tell, were very overworked. So nice, though. So nice. Not once did I feel that the staff were rude or anything like that. They were just so lovely. And so willing to give you the directions that they knew. You know, because some of them worked upstairs, some of them didn't. Or some worked downstairs, and some of them didn't, you know. And that was great. But the people who actually run this event, I think, poorly organized it. Because why on earth was it so hard to actually walk through the place when you clearly didn't organize the queues? Because queues were queues, but not organized queues. And I don't care. Like, I wasn't seeing anybody myself. Luke's I saw Ron Perlman, and that seemed to be fine. But I was pissed off for the people that were in the queues, and then people would go in front of them and, you know, cut in line and stuff like that, and nobody said anything. And then those people just kept going back and back and back. And then you want to know what type of people those were. People that were unconfrontational, and they'll never say anything, and they'd probably be the very last person to see somebody. But it's just not okay. And I'm sorry I'm going on a little rant here, but it was just so bad. So bad. And they had, like, what's wrong with having vending machines?
Well, yeah, they had, I think, 4 places where you could get a drink from and, like, a hot dog or something. And the queues were always massive. It took ages. I'm still, like, dehydrated today, and I drank at least 3 litres of water when I got in.
And something I will say about the eateries there. The one that we went to, I loved that lady so much. But I only eat chicken. That's the only meat that I eat. Otherwise, I'll have a different, like, plant-based protein or legume-based protein. I don't think it was very plant-based.
No, there weren't very many options.
That's fine. That's just something that's for me, but it was just something to mention.
I did just remember, Mary, you bought a cookie yesterday and we haven't eaten it.
Oh, yeah.
So that we'll have a little treat after this podcast.
But that was cool because I'm allergic to a red food dye, and sometimes it's really hard because a lot of people get, I don't know why you have to have something super red, so I don't eat red velvet things. And then this place had a red velvet cake or cookie that it looks like it's cocoa, like, instead of dye, so that's cool. But yeah, I'm sorry I'm complaining about it, but I just witnessing the fact that there were so many people that needed the accessibility and it wasn't there, it pissed me off.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the attendees, like the punters that were feeling this way. The talent were as well.
Yeah, that's what you'll leave you to that.
I honestly, I shouldn't laugh at this, but it really did make me chuckle.
Is this the Glover?
Yes, so yeah. Danny Glover and Mel Gibson were there to do like a Lethal Weapon, excuse me.
So many people are so excited about that too.
Lethal Weapon reunion, yeah, and they had the biggest queues. And Danny Glover was all smiling and waving at people, and then as soon as the pictures were over, he just like put his head in his hand. It was just like, oh.
They do a bridge of the nose rub.
Yeah, I was like, that poor guy. He's so tired.
He was like, he wouldn't ignore the people around him either.
No.
Like, he was waving to people and actually being like really, really, really like uplifting and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. It's just, you could definitely tell that I'm going to say the talent, for lack of a better term, you could really tell that they were not as jolly as they would be at a different convention.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be exhausting speaking to hundreds, if not thousands of people. I mean, I only spoke to like 10 people, maybe 20 people, and I'm still tired now. My back hurts, my knees hurt.
My neck, my back.
No.
I'm not going to sing it. I told you if we weren't home by 7 p.m., I was going to sing that. I was going to just scream it.
Yeah, but we got home at 7 o'clock on the dot. And we had left at like 6:15 in the morning, so it was a very long day.
That is going to segue us into our actual topic of today.
Yeah, I know. We've spoken for half an hour about that, so let's give...
We've been complaining again. I apologize, but...
There was lots of good stuff as well.
Yeah.
Lots of nice stuff.
But my whole thing is the people... I got to see an old friend of mine. Not an old friend of mine. I think she's younger than me.
Yeah.
I got to see my friend. It was so awesome to see her. Like, it made my day. And the people that were there to sign things, and the shopkeepers, and the people that actually worked there, were just so lovely. And the guests there were really nice. And I was complaining about it earlier in the day that I had just come out of... Luke and I had just come out of a restaurant, and I was a little bit like, I think it was the restaurant we had just come out of, and this woman just kept walking and expected me to move out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got to be honest with you, was not having the best day of my life for some personal reasons, but I feel that I am in the time of my life where if you are not going to move out of the way that like the regular direction of walking is, fine. But I will make you very sure with an eye roll to know that I don't appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's more than an eye roll. Especially if it's more than an eye roll when they actually like bump into me. I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
Probably exactly like that. But at this convention, even though it would pack like a double pack of sardines in one tin, everyone was so kind.
Yeah, and something I want to share as well, actually, is there were quite a lot of disabled people coming, and I guess that kind of makes sense because if you're less able to move around, or your life is restricted somehow, you might live vicariously through media. You might be more into movies or comics or superheroes or whatever. And I will say, I know that John Barrowman has had a bit of a fall from grace.
I'm glad you're mentioning this.
Yeah, but he was incredibly kind and very friendly to all of the people that came to see him. And there was one disabled child there. And John Barrowman got up from his table, walked around and sat with the guy, the kid I should say, and looked at him the whole time, was talking to him directly. The kid was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, and I overheard what he said. And he said, I'm going to let you in on a secret. I love Star Wars. And he said, and here's a secret, and I'm sharing this with everybody without John Barrowman's consent. It's pretty bad of me. But he said, I've got a storage area where I keep all my old Star Wars figures, and my husband doesn't know about it. If you tell him, he will kill me.
Oh, that was very sweet. I didn't get to see that, but when you told me about that, I was like, okay, I've not eased up on him, but it's good to see that working through things, it seems like they're working out for him. Yeah,
but that kid had a massive smile on his face as he was leaving, and you know what? That makes it all worth it, doesn't it?
Exactly, and that is the thing. Those people at that convention center were just so happy. And obviously not just with John Barrowman, but like the people that I saw leave from the Danny Glover booth.
Yeah.
Oh God, they were like the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. And it was just, I am, like I said, I was having a bad day because of something personal, but that sounds like I'm trying to get somebody to ask me about it. Please don't. But seeing those people's faces and just being around people that were just happy to be in existence with other people was really lovely. And that's really what it's all about. And you could tell that those people actually gave a shit.
Yeah.
I was very overstimulated and kind of like mouthy at the end.
By about midday, you'd had enough, and we didn't leave till nearly 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 4 something.
I was very mouthy.
Yes.
Because like I said, I was overstimulated. I got to the point I never have to put I say not never. I don't usually have to put my Loop earbuds in, but I had to when Luke was getting his last signature from Ron Perlman, because I just couldn't think. If you guys don't know what Loop earbuds are, not sponsored, they are earbuds that where you can have it as like noise canceling, or you can get the ones that I have, which just when I put them in, they don't mute everything, but they're really good at being able to focus in on conversations that are closer to you rather than farther away. They're also really great for concerts. I did use them at the Killers concert for a little bit, which was awesome. But yeah.
So to kind of bring us closer to the actual topic of the podcast, one of the other things we went to do that day was to visit Warner Brothers pop-up Daily Planet newsstand for promotional purposes of the new Superman film, which we're going to go and see on Friday, aren't we?
Yeah, at King's Cross. I'm not going to tell where we're going to see it.
I thought you were for a second. I was like,
King's Cross. And apparently I've been saying the name of this wrong for the past 15 years. St. Pancras?
You say it like the organ, but it's like St. Pancras.
St. Pancras.
I mean, it sounds almost indistinguishable, but there's a very subtle difference. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, that was very easy to get to.
Yes, so they have like a booth essentially in the middle of the concourse at the station at King's Cross, and it's like, you know, somewhere where you would go and buy an old newspaper, and you can go up there for free, and they'll give you a copy of the Daily Planet, which I haven't actually looked over in detail yet.
I'm going to do that later on today.
Yes. I posted a picture of the booth on my Serum Lake Comics channel.
Did you post a picture of Molly?
Yes, Molly was in there. Molly the super dog. Yes, the couple in front of us had bought their dog, Molly, and given her a Superman cape.
Lovely.
And the dog loved Mary, kept jumping up trying to lick her face. Less interested in me. Probably could tell that I don't really care for dogs.
Probably smelled the cats on you.
Maybe. But they also, you know, they ask you to pick between a number 1 and 12, and they'll give you a promotional item based on the number that you pick. I got a Daily Planet pen, which Mary was very excited about. That was the one she definitely wanted. And Mary, you got a set of stickers, didn't you?
Yes, which I'm not disappointed in because I collect stickers. Yes,
and they gave us samples of the new Hugo Superman fragrance, which I haven't smelled yet.
For someone like myself who can't smell very well, I could definitely feel the spearmint. It seemed nice.
They also had photo opportunities where you could they'd put a Superman cape on you, and you know, you could pose in front of like a sky backdrop and make it look like you were flying. We didn't do that, though.
Yeah, because obviously I have a Superman suit, so I could just go outside. But my Superman suit and my Batman suit, they're from Black Milk, and they're bathing suits with capes. The capes are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
So I'm just looking at how long we've been recording, Mary, and we've been going for 40 minutes nearly. Maybe next time we'll talk about Jimmy Olsen, which was supposed to be the topic of this one.
Okay.
Because otherwise we're going to be...
It just sounds like we're bitching in this episode.
Well, we did a little bit, but overall, I'm glad we went. It just could be better organised.
Yeah. I am going to write to them. Not necessarily about my experience as a whole, but in terms of things that I witnessed. And I doubt they'll read it ever, but it's just, please, if you guys ever go to one of these things and you know, you'll love it. Like, it will be amazing. And it's one of those things that I am such an anxious person. I could travel halfway around the world by myself multiple times from here to there. No anxiety whatsoever. Great. But when it comes to having like thousands of people, I think you would have said thousands of people.
Yeah, there were thousands.
I do get it becomes a bit much. But that's something that I did. So I knew that there were going to be a lot of people there, but I had thought it was a bigger venue.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I was under the impression of. But yeah, just don't ever let someone else's opinion of something make you not go and do something, because a lot of these conventions, or most of these conventions, are spectacular. And it's not just because they have like big names and stuff like that. It's just because of the people that you'll get to meet, like-minded people. And it's really great. And it's awesome to see that some of the things that like my family used to like make fun of me about, like my Barbies and playing with them probably until I was too old.
27.
I wasn't 27. I was 13. I felt so like not that I belonged there, but that I was around people that would never make fun of me for something like that. They would actually be like, well, here, which one did you have? I had this one, and you had that one. It's awesome. It's just really cool. And I think with that, we'll talk about Jimmy Olsen next week, like you suggested.
Yeah.
And we will go to the comments.
Okay, so the first comment, I'm doing it in a slightly different way this time. I'm reading from the latest comment to the oldest comment. Cool. So, the first comment is from Doc Widener, who says, "Thank goodness you're here. I think a short message this week." Spoilers, it's not a short message.
I love all of the messages.
I believe I owe you some pictures of Lancaster, just haven't been in that direction. Got the estimate for the new well, which is $8,500.
Oh, God.
Not as much worse, I should say, than our plumbing bill.
Yeah.
Nearly double.
He's got to do the whole well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Though most everyone I've mentioned this to says, oh, I thought it would be way worse, so yay. I'm also listening to this during breaks in a work call. There's a COOP, a continuity of operations, test going this weekend at work. I only have a couple of quick things to do, but I need to be available in case they need something else. And I need to be aware of what issues they are running into to inform my leadership. The idea is that if Brainiac attacks Metropolis, we can cut over to our data center in Central City. They did this a few years ago for the systems and had a host of issues, which is why you want to do a test. They sorted those out. This time they seem to have found some new issues, but given the well cost, I can use the overtime. Red Dye. Can't have any of Daniel's cherry bread for his 4-H project. Includes maraschino cherries, which include red 40. Gymnastics. I think I have a few old Sergey videos on private on YouTube. We'll have to see.
Awesome.
Sergey did gymnastics until he was about 8. Long story about that, but maybe for another day.
That's awesome.
Found them most are short. One was not though. It is only a few minutes. Floor exercise. You get why Bruce Wayne in the golden age of comics had gymnastics equipment in the Batcave.
Yeah.
Eclipso. My original recollection of him was one of those summer crossovers DC did post-crisis every few years. For someone like me, it did get me to buy titles I did not usually buy. Eclipso did show up in the second season of Stargirl, which may have been its best. What the heck, villains? I'll go with the DCAU show Luke doesn't cover much. Static Shock and the one-off villain Permafrost. In this way, I get to honour our Poet Laureate's request for cold villains to beat the heat. Power set-wise, not that original, but her motivations were interesting, especially for a kid's show. Most striking is, like Ace in Epilogue, how Static resolved her issues, showing the power of empathy. 7-Up is what my parents had when I was a kid. Sierra Mist, now Starry, never really made an impression. By that point, I was a caffeine person who didn't like coffee. I thought Sierra Mist had a slightly confusing name with Mountain Dew, which were both Pepsi brands. Sprite is fine as well. I did try 7-Up Zero a while back and I thought it was good. 7-Up has a number of alternate flavours this summer, but I have been going to the cheaper Kroger brand sodas anyhow.
To be honest with you, the Kroger brand, and I'm trying to think of a brand that I had, like, I've not had Trader Joe's, but I've heard the, like, Trader Joe's, Kroger, and the other one's like Publix or whatever, literally taste exactly the same, if not better.
I too was sad to see Muppet Vision 3D close. I just found out the sheet music the band uses, even though it isn't the song being, is the Rainbow Connection. The Quinton Reviews guy I had mentioned had a nice little video on his second channel covering the trip to the park to see it before it closed. Disney and the Muppets should have been a good collaboration, but it almost feels like they have someone at Disney with Mary's phobia. They never did much with it.
Truth.
Oh, I did make it to the Ohio I did make it to the Ohio Theatre Friday night and Saturday morning. Saturday morning was Cartoon Capers. Sometimes a Fleischer Studios Superman episode makes an appearance, but the only hero was Popeye. There was a very early Merry Melodies from the 1940s with Elmer Fudd, and what was an early prototype Bugs Bunny who had a Woody Woodpecker laugh. Apparently Chuck Jones didn't like it when looking back. You should read the Wikipedia on it. The last sentence of his comment was, "Perhaps the kindest thing to say about Elmer's candid camera is that it taught everyone what not to do and how not to do it." Friday night was Blues Brothers. Was happy the biggest cheer of the night was when they drove through the goose-stepping morons protest and forced them to jump off the bridge into the water. At least this collection of Americans remembered people remembering to cheer for those guys losing and not voting for them. I recall the Oklahoma City bombing. I was in graduate school at the time. I was at the Ohio Union in the arcade playing Williams Taxi Pinball. It was one of the few Marilyn Monroe versions of the table that existed. Heard a commotion and it was loud enough that I quit my game and went to the dining area next door. They had a CRT TVs hanging from the ceiling. I watched it for a couple of hours until I had to leave for class, and I was teaching. My class was about half full. Most of them stayed when I said we could just condense stuff into the next few lectures, but we could talk about what we saw if they wanted. One of them complained to the chair of the department that I did that.
You know what? It's people like that who give people anxiety about talking about things that are traumatic to them.
Yep.
You were doing something good by giving people the opportunity to talk about a trauma, because it wasn't just a trauma that happened in Oklahoma. This was one of the things, like the first, attack on the U.S. I would guess it was a domestic one, but we had never seen anything of the sort on television, and this was in the time of we had 24-hour news stations then. So yeah, it was very traumatic.
My rolling TV story would be from almost a decade before. When I was in high school, we were watching the Challenger launch, ouch, because the first teacher was going into space. At least I was a sophomore and not a little kid. Yeah, quite right. As for 9/11, that is a story for another day perhaps. The missus and I had been living in DC for 3 years. This was around the time she was starting to have her health issues start. She was still working and I was working in Georgetown up the Potomac from the Pentagon. Getting ready for the Tour de France, which wrecks any summer media consumption since the broadcasts go about 5 hours or so a day. I've been enjoying Murderbot on Apple TV. Quick watch, but the season is not done yet. Fun. Mary, you should really watch Dot and Bubble from the last season of Doctor Who. Both of you should. It's a standalone and you don't need to see any of the other episodes. It has no impact on the season arc story. It's all contained, and you will likely watch it twice to see what you missed the first time. I've never heard of President's Choice. It is Canadian now, and it looks like it was in the central US. I don't think it ever made it to Ohio. RC Cola still exists. Haven't had it in forever. I played the comment about it being Sergei's car, and his response was, "You should just invite them over already."
If we were over there, we would definitely come over.
So you are invited. I'm sure you are rushing to come over to the US, lol. So I will get right on.
Maybe in about 4 years.
Maybe not. I will get right on getting the guest room cleaned. Winky face. Thanks for the brunch, though I didn't finish until dinner time. Also helping Daniel with his 4-hour yeast bread project, or 4H yeast bread project, excuse me.
Okay, now, if this is what having kids is all about, they're making you, like, cherry cakes and what sounds like carbs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in.
He made bagels and crusty mustard focaccias today.
That sounds lovely.
Thank you for your comment, Doc. Okay, so the next comment comes from RJ Productions, who says, my WTF villain is the Joker himself because he legitimately kidnapped a child.
Yep.
I don't think we've actually seen him endanger children in the show before this point. The episode freaked me out as a kid because of the thought of being alone in an abandoned carnival, being stalked by an evil clown. Funnily enough, the episode predicted that the end of the Terrifier 2. At least the Joker isn't as brutally violent as Art the Clown. Though then again, if B-Test wasn't a kid show, we might have seen something like that with the Clown Prince of Crime. An update for my Batman story. I want to write the cruelest version of the Penguin and the Joker. None of this society is to blame bullcrap. The Penguin is going to be a Joe Goldberg level incel who's a proper creep and an actual monster. The Joker is cruel, abusive, and still keeping his clown theme, since I feel like most Joker media outside the game drops the whole killer clown theme. Also, Veronica Vreeland's personality and backstory will be inspired by Georgia Miller from the Netflix show Ginny and Georgia. She's probably going to be the most interesting character in the series, to be honest. Thank you for your comment, Harry. Let's move on to Screen Wipers Chicken News.
I turn off the notifications on my watch, right?
Yeah.
Now it's just like...
Yeah, I know. You see why I get annoyed with it. Right, so next comment. Yeah, Screen Wipers Chicken Update from the 14th of June 2025. Doris has continued to recover. She is skinny and a bit underweight, but that is often the case when chickens' bodies spending nutrients on growing new feathers. She's getting even chattier at lunchtime, and we may be seeing the beginning of the return of her epic rants.
Just sounds like me. Not the skinny,
Yeah.
but the rants.
No feathers either.
Well, sometimes.
Mabel has been observed opening and using the mechanical feeder alone a few more times. She still always operates it like she's defusing a bomb. It scares her, but she has to use it to get enough food. I want as little food laying around as possible because of the rats. There are now 4 rats.
Oh no!
I have bought poison, been using different bait in the traps, and it isn't working. They still won't go into it, so I plan on putting the poison down in places rats go, but the chickens don't. The rats need to be gone. Their only options are exile or death, and they are refusing exile.
Can I make a suggestion? Have you put out a shoebox? Or just a box in whatever. Have you tried the cheese method? I'm just saying, have you just stayed there and you were really, really still in front of a box with the lid open, and then you put cheese in the box, and then when it comes out, obviously it's going to think you're a statue if you're not moving. And then once it gets in the box, you could go like, whew, I caught you. I'm going to take you to some farm that are my villains or my rivals. Have you thought about that?
I believe he's going to cover that in his comment.
Okay, cool.
I'm just going to continue the comment then. It says, I injured my back and then got food poisoning and was in a bad way having both of them at once.
Oh no.
Yeah, I bet. It was also hot and sunny this week, so after work I would just lie on the sunbed. A lot easier to not puke with fresh air. All the hens were worried about me. Wilma and Betty especially tried to look after me. I'm better now. Glad to hear.
Good.
Wilma and Betty have started molting, maybe seasonal and a reaction to the heat, maybe the hormone implants, but I'm sure they feel better in this heat as they're both very fluffy. Health-wise they seem fine, and behaviour-wise they have been mostly fine. Sunday the 21st of June. Mites infested the coop. I found them while changing the bedding. I killed them all. Thankfully, they were simply nesting between the layers of card placed under the bedding to protect the coop from the corrosive chemicals in the bird poo. Sulfur, nitrate, ammonia, etc., rather than nesting between the wooden pieces the coop is made of. This made them easier to kill and remove. I also suggested that they haven't been it also suggested that they haven't been there long yet. I still suspect they're hens and saw a mite on Wilma's leg and a couple of Mabel's legs, so everyone had a little bath in some poison. I did not wear gloves because I wanted to feel if the poison started burning the hen's skin, as it would burn mine first. Thankfully, it did not burn me, and it has been warm and dry day, so the hens weren't wet for long. Inspected again, and no mites were found.
Good.
Total change of all the bedding with lots of poison down, so they should be sleeping better tonight. While checking Doris for mites, I thought she felt heavier, so I weighed her, and she is over halfway back to her usual weight range, so that's a good sign.
Yay.
Mabel is having a day off, laying eggs every 5 to 10 days. I'm glad she is slowing down her work rate. Sustainability is important and is a worker's right to respite. Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, 3rd of July. Thursday morning, Betty didn't want to get out of bed. She was acting ill. She was acting like she wanted to lay an egg, tucking bedding under herself and giggling. It was cute. Went to work in Cardiff all day and came back, checking the coop, and found the flattened remains of a soft-shell egg where Betty had been sat. I held it up and asked the buckers, "Who laid this?" They all looked at it in silence except Betty, who said rather meekly, "Brr," as if to admit it was her. Weak evidence, but it's all I had. I booked her into the vet the next day. Also took Wilma because I can't rule it out having been her, and even if it wasn't, Wilma last had her hormone done a month longer ago, than Betty, so if Betty's implant was wearing out now, Wilma's would soon follow. Wilma was excellently behaved and set a good example, calm and compliant, made minimal mess. Betty would get a bit aggravated and rowdy at times and made more mess before calming down. She hates visiting the vet. They did have a nice time on the grass verge outside the hospital as we waited for our taxi home and showed no signs of pain once we were home. Still gave him a bit of painkiller anyway, just in case they were acting tough. But wait, there's more. Sunday morning, the hens get up. Doris looks uncomfortable, stands outside the coop almost as upright as a penguin, and with a pained look on her face. I did not like this, but I didn't need to wonder what was wrong for long, as she laid an egg that splat open as soon as it landed on the ground. All the hens rushed over to eat it for breakfast, especially Wilma. I was unable to take Doris to the vet until Wednesday. No appointments. I had work stuff anyway. Been a tiring week. In the time between Doris was up and down, she'd been okay, act sick, lay on one of the soft eggs, and then look and feel better. Repeat. One night she sat on the patio instead of going to bed. I assumed she wanted to sleep in the house, so started setting up the in-house chicken hospital bed, but maybe she just wanted me to carry her down the stairs. As I was doing that, she hobbled down the stairs to the coop. I accompanied her when I saw this. Doris laid an egg on Wednesday morning, so was feeling well at the vet. A little dog sniffed at her cage in reception, and she did not like that and got the hump about it. There were delays, and we had to sit in the waiting room for about 50 minutes before being seen. And for like 30 of those minutes, Doris just sulked about the dog or about being at the vet's again or something. She did eventually cheer up, and we had a little play while waiting. Vet thinks hetnoviductness. Yeah, okay, I think I've said it. I've said it wrong. Doesn't matter.
I think you should try to say it again.
Hetnoviductness disease. But it should go away when she stops making these eggs. She did have me worried at one point that eggs were breaking inside of her, felt ill and did poops yellow in them. But that doesn't seem to be the case, not since laying that egg on Wednesday. That egg did not break, and so I was able to cook it and feed it back to the hens as an evening treat after the vet visit. Friday the 4th of July, I went to watch Hatebreed, Mastodon, Anthrax, Amon Amarth, and Effing Slayer in Blackweir Fields, Cardiff last night. My chicken sitter is fit for work again, so she kept watch and put them to bed while I was out. She reported the hens all seemed well and behaved themselves. This morning Doris laid an egg in the night. The shell was still fragile, but improved compared to the eggs before. It looks like it came out whole, but one of more hens pierced it and ate the insides anyway. Thankfully, they did not eat the egg that Mabel laid late in the morning. That's mine. Had work off today. Right, let me just try that again. My brain is scrambled, excuse me. Had today off work to recover from all the work stuff I've had going on, all the vet stuff and the big metal gig. Spent the day in the garden with the hens and the sitter, who is also a good friend. Had a lovely time together. At one point I ate a biscuit and crumbled a bit on the floor for the hens to eat. While the hens were scrambling for these crumbs, so rare they get biscuit, it happened. Betty pecked Wilma, the pack leader, and her best friend. Why? Was Betty issuing a dominance challenge? Did Betty mistake Wilma for one of the low-ranking hens? I can't tell. But Wilma stood over her as if to say, "What the? How dare you?" And Betty looked like she knew she had messed up. Wilma then pecked her like, "Remember your place, beat her." They acted like nothing happened and were cooching under the sunbed not 5 minutes later. A shame they can't be that forgiving to Doris and Mabel. For Mabel, she had a nice, uneventful week, laid good eggs, but not too many, had a day off, etc. She's been a good girl, except for trying to eat biodegradable bin bags. I am seeing fewer rats. Never seeing more than one at a time anymore. Maybe it's the same one and the others ate the poison under the decking and died. I got waft that smelt like a dead body earlier today, oh dear. But it was also the bin day today, so maybe it was that.
Question. Have you ever smelled a dead body?
Sounds like he has. I gave them weeks of chances to get humanely captured and exiled, but they chose to stay. I told them if they stayed, they'll die. They still stayed. Told the one left, I killed your friends and I'll kill you too if you keep coming here. I can't have someone complaining to environmental health and getting my hens taken from me. It was them or us, and I chose us. Maybe the rat corpses under the deck, will serve as a warning to others. And for the rat, so he left another comment as well, Screen Wiper, and I'll just read this out quickly because it's very small. For the rat, I tried putting peanut butter and bread, part of the cheesy pasty, even sausage. Nothing works. They just seem to have no incentive to go into the traps. I think they just enjoy eating chicken poo too much. My birds are pretty well fed. I pick up the poo multiple times a day, but there's always another poo somewhere with chickens. I just bought a new block of Welsh cheddar, so we'll try cheese again, but I expect it will not work. I think they might have a nest under the garden decking, so I'll put the poison there, out of the reach of the chickens. I have seen them try to eat washing up liquid, so they would probably eat this stuff. And that's the end of the chicken update.
I always love the chicken update.
Yes, thank you, Screen Wiper, for your comment, as ever. So next we have David Carney, who says, Hi, Luke and Mary. One character that comes to mind is Robin. They didn't seem to have a plan for him. At times he felt forced into a story or forgotten. It's like with Tim Drake and Jason Todd in the comics. DC have struggled to know what to do with them for years. Hopefully that will change very soon. Have a good week, everyone.
You know what? Robin is a good what the heck character. Because that's exactly correct. And then, obviously, another one of the comments was saying, like, the Joker kidnapped Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, bad consequences came out of that for Robin.
Yeah. Next we have Ryan Jones, who says, my WTF villains are Professor Milo because he's a rubbish supervillain and I don't know why he was in Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, I know. What a weird villain to have.
Nobody likes him, and Tony should have killed him in The Moon of the Wolf. Yeah, well, okay. I know there is someone that likes him. There's a guy who pretends he is Professor Milo that leaves comments on my videos asking why I haven't done videos about Professor Milo.
We will take him. We will put a mark in that comment for this particular comment because I agree.
Yeah, well, you know, there's at least one person that likes Professor Milo.
Yeah, that's okay. Good for the unlikable characters.
So just to continue Ryan's comment, he also says Josiah Wormwood because he's a rubbish version of the Riddler and one of the most forgettable Batman villains. Oh, and Roland Daggett's henchmen because they were so incompetent. It makes me wonder why he hires them. In the last episode, I spelled Waldorf wrong. Some people have used me too, Mary. In my first secondary school, some students that I was trying to make friends with tricked me into kissing the boy that they were bullying, and they also told me to kiss a fly, and that has scarred me for life. And that is why I have trouble making friends. Even though I am comfortable with myself now and want to make new friends, I am still scared of what if they are horrible and they want to bully me.
You're my friend, so I will not let anyone bully you or make fun of you because guess what? I am an Oklahoma gal that grew up with people who knew how to complain to managers. So I'll talk to their manager.
To continue Ryan's comment, he says he wouldn't be surprised if Trump is in the Epstein files. He was very close friends with him, but if it's true, I hope people don't praise Nazi Musk as a brave hero because he is not. Mm-hmm. One, he's still a Nazi, and two, if true that Trump is in those files, that would mean that Musk until now was okay with working with a P word in the White House, if you know what I mean, and that is not okay.
It is not.
It baffles me why America voted for him despite being friends with Epstein in very public knowledge. I forgot to say this last episode, but thank you for answering my question about Skylanders, Mary, and I'm sorry that you mean Skylanders fans, but trust me, not all Skylander fans are like that.
Oh, that's all right. The good ones far outweigh the bad ones. Especially like the kiddos that would come in after school and buy one. It was really cute. Made life really cool working that shift.
Yeah. The next comment is from the Phantasm, who is commenting on this episode as if we had stuck to the original schedule and talked about Jimmy Olsen. I'll read the comment anyway. And he says, it's Superman and Fantastic Four month and I can't wait. Now today's subject being the DCAU's depiction of Jimmy Olsen. Unfortunately, we have to talk about one of the instances in the DCAU where the character was not adapted great. It happens now and then, like in BTAS with Catwoman, Killer Croc, Penguin or Zatanna. She wasn't nearly as well showcased in BTAS compared to Jonah Hex, although Zatanna was improved upon in JLU in practically every way. Shadow Thief in Justice League Unlimited, and Sinestro in general, among a few others. First off, when looking at the original character design for Superman, Lois, Jimmy, Perry and Lex, I can say that I easily prefer all the designs we ended up getting in the show except for Jimmy. Despite to attempt to modernise some designs, Jimmy's not a character I think they succeeded with, and instead the S design feels more dated with his baggy clothes and mullet. It doesn't have the same charm as the green sweater jacket and the red bow tie. His design aside, his characterization felt severely lacking in that he generally felt like a naive, perpetually endangered background character who occasionally got a line. Additionally, I never got the sense in the show why Clark and Superman would want to be friends with him, even with the episode dedicated to that with Superman's pal. I'm sure the mandates by DC Comics at the time to synergize with the tone of the post-crisis Superman set by John Byrne had a role to play in the lack of Jimmy's more outlandish adventures. Jimmy Olsen is a character that works best when you embrace all the Silver Age elements of his character and his stories. An alien princess could randomly select Jimmy to be her husband, or when Jimmy can accidentally drink a serum that turns him into a kaiju-sized turtle man, or when he somehow discovers an entire planet populated by Jimmy Olsens. Does it make sense that all the ludicrous stuff keeps happening to the regular photographer? Of course not, but the unbelievability is part of the fun, and it doesn't always have to be an extreme. Like, for example, I love Jimmy's relationship with Silver Banshee in Joshua Williamson's run, or Matt Fraction's Superman's pal. Yeah, that was a good series, actually. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to straight up adapt Jimmy's Silver Age stories, rather keep the essence of the adventures. For example, my adventures with Superman I thought did a really good job with their Jimmy Olsen, having inexplicable things happening to him, like becoming the CEO of his own company, and his adventures with Monsieur Mallah and the Brain felt very Silver Age inspired. This part you're reading is an edit, but it just came to me. The giant kaiju in the Superman movie is speculated to be created by Lex. But what if it's Jimmy? Oh, that'd be amazing. It's probably not the case, but it's fun to have theories. Yes, I agree. That could be very amusing. It would certainly explain the pale and orange tone of the kaiju. But yeah, thank you for your comment, and we'll probably talk about a lot of this stuff in the next episode.
Word. Next,
we have Big Mikey P, Michael Andre Parlon, who says, if only I have enough money to publicly celebrate the much-awaited fall of the Ayatollah's evil empire. Okay. Hey, how is Ace of the Royal Flush Gang a what the hell? Well, Mary explained it, didn't she?
You know what? Anybody that has that kind of power deserves to have their own life and not have people use them. That's why it's what the heck.
My pick for Nandianen, Japanese Osaka Bend of what the heck villain. Okay. Would be the Warrior Queen Maxima, because she's just so fillery. Remove her solo appearance from the DCAU equation and you won't lose much, apart from Lobo's cameo and the misunderstanding old lady witness, but still. Would rather prefer Mr. Miracle's first Superman Adventures comic issue appearance in animated form instead, which should have been become relevant for Justice League Unlimited. Surprised Mary picked Tony Romulus, the athletic doping Wolfman, not Maxie Zeus, the Greco-Roman myth fanatic. Then again, in hindsight, like Mary says, it does make perfect sense, even if the episode ain't an animation masterwork. And besides, the episode is relevant to the later Project Cadmus arc for Justice League Unlimited, so it's not fillery really. I'm fine with the Promethean when one thinks of them as subtle New Genesis foreshadowing, and also introducing the nasty General Hardcastle. Oh, there's something about that episode that feels rewatchable, like a well-made Fleischer Superman cartoon. Not even Warrior Queen or BTAS Moon of the Wolf have that stamp of quality. Wouldn't call Amazo and Nandayanan... Oh god, I tripped over it then anyway. Either, but I can understand the opinions of him being overpowered. Please banish until some Justice League Infinity comic comes out years later. Meanwhile, I would love to have Amazo on my power, or even better, I become Amazo. Sorry, Mary. I'm divided on Eclipso. They are real effective on their possession threat level and their modus operandi of blotting out the sun, but they just aren't very memorable and relatable as Dr. Destiny, and alas, their humming tune ain't even an earworm. At least to me. Also, why isn't their origins backstory not have a cameo of Vandal Savage battling them? Missed opportunity, this one. Perhaps because it might make Vandal Savage seem heroic and they didn't want to spoil Hereafter. Perhaps. Voice actress Hynden Walsh truly nailed Ace in her brief speaking role in Justice League and her finality in Justice League Unlimited, the same way she did Starfire in Teen Titans 2003, Princess Bubblegum in Adventure Time, and Viridi in Kid Icarus Uprising. I still think DCAU Joker is truly insane, it's just that he does not want the kind of crazy Ace may induce on him. Don't think Amanda Waller should be a what-the-heck villain either. I have seen enough of David Xanatos', Catherine Halsey's, Revolver Ocelots and John Brown's out there, and am quite a huge fan of the Hereditary plot twist, fateful red herring of epilogue. Still don't understand why it has haters. That's like complaining on why Star Wars Chewbacca's didn't get a Battle of Yavin medal. Spoilers, his Legend iteration did back from the Marvel 1977 comics.
When you said Hereditary, is he talking about the movie with,
I don't know.
I tried watching...
Oh, no, Hereditary is talking about the twist in Epilogue.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's fine, sorry.
Yeah, not the
I thought you were talking about the Hereditary movie. I was like, Mikey P, please tell me what happens. Because I tried to watch it, I just couldn't. I'm not going to say it was boring. It was just... It didn't hold my attention that day.
To continue the comment, it says, Mary, pretty please read and watch Watership Down, the novel and the animated film. No, she won't like it. I know she won't like it, so she's not to watch it.
Yeah, I had a teacher in high school tell people to read about it for these extra credit laps, and he gave me something different. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He says, I'll bet you'll cry when Hazel meets, can't say that name, and be awed at Bigwig saying something I can't read. To the something else I can't read. In short, it's like where one expects darkness, but a lot of light shows up in the memorable end. 49 minutes and 29 seconds. He may be the Boba Fett, maybe like the... Right, let me try this again. Sorry, my
You're
brain...
You're so tired from yesterday.
I'm blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I've still got...
The podcast always gets you when you're the tiredest.
Yeah, and I've also got a crap ton of other stuff I need to be doing, so I need to continue with this comment. He might like the Boba Fett enemy of the Empire comics from the Legends continuity. I think I draw my fair share of Sprite Mary. Draw? He said drank. Jesus. I think I drank my fair share of Sprite Mary. Would pay a real good DC Comics writer and artist to make Gulp Shito fleshing out story for Sam Young to prove Phantasm wrong, not out of spite, only for fanboy competition, for lack of better term. What? I have a soft spot for almost any kind of side characters. Don't judge.
No judgment.
49:24. No worries, cold's gone now, but there was a close call involving a clogged lift here that made me go to the hospital. Oh dear.
What?
If there's any relief about the Oklahoma City bombing and 9/11 nowadays, never fear. I'm not going to read that part out because you shouldn't be celebrating anyone being harmed.
Do you know who I celebrate? All of those kids yesterday at the convention that were just so happy to go by some of those stalls with like Kirby and stuff like that. They would go, oh, like that. It was just really lovely.
51 minutes and 28 seconds. Oh, well, try telling gods as to why exactly he kept Satan around and never completely destroyed him to nothingness for his vain Watcher's rebellion. Sigh. Just because it's a deterrent doesn't mean it completely deters the stuff it averts. The fact that it has to be grudgingly accepted like the will of the Force. Funny, I actually think Cromwellian rule was kind of neat. Yeah, I thought you might. Sure, there was the curbing of the arts, but considering the chaos of the Stuart dynasty's rule afterwards and seen in Lorna Doone, also Ireland ain't entirely... Okay, now, we're not going to besmirch the Irish.
We love the Irish.
Have not watched any of the anime this week. It has been a trudge due to my aforementioned cold and hospital visit, some busy work and yada yada yada. We'll promise to have progress on both shows this week. Still at Moby Dick, particularly when they caught a sperm whale and a right whale, and also continuing steadily with Emily of New Moon. Also, I'm about to finish the Halo, The Fall of Reach epilogue and adjunct, and shall follow up with the Combat Evolved game novelisation, The Flood. Oh, I do not have much guff against Idris Elba, Mary. It's Doctor Who I'm having guff about. I think guff means a different word in English. It's slang for a fart. Completely changes the meaning of the sentence. No time for me to Spotify, though. iTunes even. Personal time's already occupied enough. The DCAU is... DACU is an incorrect anagram. Detective Animated Comics Universe doesn't seem right. Yeah, I agree. Have no guff against Communion. The Dan Cook guy is quite disrespectful even for my liberal mindset. Got to miss the HBO era of Band of Brothers, The Soprano and The Wire, though. It had a kind of magic that got lost when Game of Thrones first showed up, although stuff like Chernobyl seems to have returned that spark for a while.
Chernobyl was good.
An hour, 6 minutes, 25 seconds. I envy. That latest Doctor Who season is pitifully why I'm not interested in checking out the franchise. Do I have to trudge on with such amateurness?
You know, the only thing I didn't care for about Chernobyl was the fact I just wish they used actors that were from there. Yeah. Not Chernobyl, but from
Russia or Ukraine.
Rather than just, all those actors were brilliant. It would have been nice to see more actors that knew the language and all of that.
What? Detective Comics sound silly to me when compared to DC Comics, especially since detectives are always a staple for the tales of Wonder Woman, Plastic Man, Space Cabbie, and so on and so forth ad infinitum. As an aside, Mortal Kombat, Shaolin Monks, Deception, and Armageddon also need polished remasters. Happy to see 1, 2, Ultimate 3, Deadly Alliance, and 4 getting those nowadays. Would be an honest shame if Julia got YouTube comment brushed. Seriously, why is YouTube so allergic about certain words no matter their context? What next? Gonna ban supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? As for the Jimmy Olsen vid, Luke, better talk about really good, if not well-written iterations of the character outside of the DCAU, so as to make sure it ain't too negative. If it came after Superman the Animated Series, it's not going to be mentioned.
Well, speak for yourself.
Just some casual hate speech here from Big Mikey P there, so I'm not going to read any more of the comment. Yeah, so let's move on to Lowell Lucas Jr.
Michael! Stop. Love. Don't hate. Love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love.
Should never
Is he talking about the Kardashians again?
No, but it's not too far off. You shouldn't make like sweeping statements about a whole nationality. Like there's like some sort of collective consciousness. That isn't the case. That really is not the case.
Americans can't help it. I'm joking, obviously. I love Americans.
Yeah.
Like that's genuine. I love Americans.
Well, yeah, of course. Anyway, that was practically the end of the comment anyway, but I'm going to move on to Lowell Lucas Jr. now.
Still love you, though.
Lowell Lucas Jr., who says, "It's grumpy today on Totally Schway. The heat is on a meltdown summer day. Ice-themed villains, please come this way. Well ahoy, well ahoy, well ahoy, dear boy, well ahoy. Just wanted to thank you all again for the well wishes. My work goggles came in. I'm glad they're helping me in my department.
Good.
It also helps the eyes and my healing. Sadly, I still have my issues, but I'm remaining positive and moving forward. Also had the comic book signing and wanted to know if you'd like a copy. It's only 4 pages, but there's a follow-up coming in October and I'm highly excited. Of course, why not? Also for WTF in the DCAU, it's got to go with Annie from Growing Pains. That's a good one. Baby Doll, another good one.
Yes.
And my love, Tala from Justice League Unlimited. They're all greatly suffered and sadly endured fates worse than death, or in Baby Doll's case, never got the love, respect, or acceptance they deserved. Both of your lists, Luke and Mary, are awesome, and not many talk about our boy Amazo, the werewolf, or even the overlooked Catman. To you, Mary, I'm not the biggest fan of Sierra Mist, now called Starry, but would drink it if there weren't any other alternatives. I'm a big 7-Up Sprite guy, but I welcome their cherry and other alternative flavours to change the mix. Mary says as she's drinking a 7-Up Cherry Zero. Or a Cherry 7-Up Zero.
I don't drink sugary drinks unless I'm having a hypo. So it has to have a zero or a diet in it.
Take care, everyone. Mary, I'm currently doing a sketch I know you'll enjoy, and we'll post it till I can find a way to send you all something. Take care and be Schway all day. Yes, thank you for your comment, Lower Lucas Jr. Your positivity is always welcomed. So those were all the comments that I have here. If you left a comment and it wasn't read out, it's not because you were censored, by us anyway. It may just be that the comment disappeared on YouTube. That seems to happen every now and then, which is kind of weird. But yeah, that's everything. So now all that's left to do is to briefly talk about what's coming next.
Well, I'm going to talk about something.
All right, go ahead.
Why is it that I like squishmallows, okay? I have sensory things. I really like them. They make me kind of regulate. Why on earth does Target get the crypto? But none of our I have checked every single shop I could find, and they don't have it. So I want to ask the world why. And why doesn't I don't want to shop at Target, but why don't they why don't they ship to here? Okay, Target, are you listening? Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Now you know how I feel whenever Todd McFarlane does a BTAS exclusive range there. I'm like, why are you doing this, you insane person? Just sell them everywhere. Jesus.
Okay, so our next episode is going to be about Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. Do you know what? Maybe next time we should do something else and just keep this joke going.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I'd thought of that ahead of time, and then we could have pretended like that was the plan.
All right, so that's it for the podcast today. I love each and every one of you, and I don't know where everybody lives. I know where some people live, in terms of not like their exact address, but around the world. And I just want to say that everybody, please keep safe. It's if you're from the Midwest, or from the South at the moment, you know, it's that season where it's going to have really, really, really terrible weather at a moment's notice. And I just want to wish you all well and tell you that I am thinking of all of you, and I just want you guys to keep safe. And yeah, please keep safe. And if it's flash flooding in your neighborhoods, or if there is a storm coming, please try to go home or inside if you can. That's the Oklahoman in me trying to tell everybody. But yeah, love you guys. Bye.